All right, we are live once again, and in the second series with HyperEquity, we're excited to have Dallin Johns with us today, the CEO of HyperEquity, really focusing on improving your merit cycles for all of those who know the joy and fun of merit cycle management. He's here to help. So today we're going to be giving him the floor to be talking about this topic, which is the silent killers of pay equity. Really excited to hear from him and understanding that your merit matrix may be the problem. So just to quickly introduce Dallin, because I want everybody to understand the expertise that we're getting on the call today. He is a CCP, SPHR, MBA, co-founder of HyperEquity with 25 years of experience in compensation strategy and analytics, with a deep expertise in executive compensation, benchmarking, and pay for performance design. Dallin co-founded HyperEquity to align your pay decisions with measurable business outcomes. What an incredible thing to do, that thinking about merit cycles is actually a business driver, right? Not just something we have to do. So I'm really excited to have you here today, Dallin, and being able to continue sharing your background expertise with everyone. And with that, I'm going to give you the floor and turn it over to you to start digging into our topic for today.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks, Trina. I appreciate you explaining how merit cycles are business drivers. I love that. Oftentimes we just look at it as a necessary process we go through annually. Just to get it done, we spread the budget out and allocate that budget to employees, and we're done. And we don't think about the long-term impacts of what we just did, and we often don't measure those long-term impacts. So today we're going to talk about some measurements of that. And as a reminder, these webinars that we do are intended to be bite-sized webinars. We're going to try to keep this short, simple, and we want to provide everybody with something practical. I often find that these webinars are far too theoretical, and that's not our goal at HyperEquity. We want to give you something to take home, a tool that you can actually put into practice. We hope that the tool today will be just that. It will be helpful. It will be a new way to measure the health of your merit matrix. Let's start though talking about the merit cycle itself and the two killers of internal pay equity that I find throughout my career have been absolute killers. So much so that companies end up spending tons of money to fix issues that they themselves caused through their merit process, in the form of equity adjustments throughout the year. And it often is not just financially costly, but it's costly in the form of time. Those comp analysts out there that are just constantly hounded throughout the 12 months following the merit cycle of one-off increases, off-cycle pay increases that just are tedious to deal with. But these are the two killers of internal pay equity that I have found over the course of my career. The number one killer, without doubt, is what we call peanut butter spreading. If any of you have been to any of our conferences that we've gone to, we're having fun with this lately. We've been talking about the harmful effects of peanut butter spreading a merit matrix or a merit budget. If you don't know what that is, just think spreading that peanut butter out on a peanut butter sandwich, nice and smooth, giving 3%, in other words, to everybody, even on the edges, all smooth across the board. Everybody's getting the same amount, a uniform increase. Some people might say, but we don't do that. We vary our increases by performance. You might be surprised at the effect that even that is happening, and we're going to show that to you here in a second. The second killer of internal pay equity is cliff effects. We'll show you what that is and what that means, and how that creates indefensible leapfrogging or indefensible pay increases and decisions that are being made. So let's jump into this. Here's a QR code for the tool that we want to offer you today. We're calling it the Merit Matrix Health Check tool. You can scan that QR code. If you want to wait till the end before you scan it, there will be another slide at the end where you can scan it there as well. But while you're scanning that, let me tell you a story. An organization that I once worked for didn't have a whole lot in the form of compensation structure, didn't have a whole lot in the form of compensation process, job architecture. So we came in as a team and we were asked to build these processes, build once we had the structure built, as many of you know, that gave us the ability to analyze internal pay equity, so we can determine and see things and how things are going. And we found that it was an absolute mess. The internal pay equity at this organization was just an absolute mess, especially gender pay equity. And this was an organization that was female-led. The CEO was female. In other words, it wasn't intentional that their females were paid so much lower than their male counterparts. And when we brought this information to the leadership of the organization, of course, they were just blown away, and ended up costing them over $1 million to fix these equity issues that they themselves had caused. They asked, of course, how did this happen? How did this happen? And I was able to use this health check tool to demonstrate and provide the data that they needed to see, so they saw exactly the effect that their merit process was having on pay equity. And I want to demonstrate that for you right now. But before I do, let's talk a little bit about peanut butter pay. If you haven't seen this report from PayScale, I found it very funny. So 43% of organizations at the beginning of this year said, you know what, they're throwing in the towel essentially. And they just said, we're just going to peanut butter spread our merit budget this year because that's just the easy way to do it. They said, it's just the easy way to do it. And merit or performance ratings are subjective anyways. And let's just do this the simple way. Peanut butter spread everything. We'll just get through this process. It's a painful process anyway. And that seems the fairest way to do it. Well, I anticipate that those organizations are now, having finished their merit cycles, are now struggling with equity. And they're trying to figure out they're spending a lot of money doing off-cycle equity adjustments. That's my prediction. Why is that? Here's the reason. Even if those organizations varied their increases by performance, something like this that you see on the left-hand side of this slide, exceeds, meets, or below expectations. Let's say you have a 3 rating system, and it's the increases you're giving to each of those ratings are 5, 3, and 0% respectively. You might say, perfect, we don't peanut butter spread. We're varying increases by performance, and this is pay for performance. The problem you have, even with a system like this, is let's say you have 2 people, employee 1 and employee 2, as you see on the right-hand side of the slide, both making the same exact amount of money. $100,000 for employee 1, $90,000 for employee 2, both in the same job, both have been at the company the same amount of time. Let's just say, for the sake of argument, both have the same exact performance of exceeds expectations. The only difference is their pay, right? $100,000, $90,000. You got 2 employees that are like this. If you give them both 5%, then obviously one grows more than the other. And you do that year over year over year, much like this company did that I told you about earlier. You will find that, in time, you're going to need to spend millions of dollars just to fix the equity issues. And you wonder what in the world has happened. So that is when same percent pay sounds fair, but doesn't actually equate to fair pay, because what we really should care about in the compensation world is the size of the paycheck in the end, not the size of the pay increase. It should be all about the size of the paycheck in the end. And we should, I agree, align that with performance. So the answer to that problem is the merit matrix. If you now add in to your matrix position in range or compa ratio into the equation, then that fixes the problem, right? You give larger increases to those high performers that are low in the range than you do to the high performers that are high in the range. It makes sense. And that starts to, over time, actually narrow pay gaps rather than enlarging them. However, I want to chat a little bit about one of the pitfalls of the merit matrix, and it's something that we at HyperEquity call the cliff effect. And the cliff effect causes leapfrogging. It's simple when you think about it. And throughout my career, I've kind of wondered, why is this the standard? Why haven't we fixed this problem? In the merit matrix, the standard merit matrix, you might have a 3x3 merit matrix or maybe a 5x5 merit matrix. But when you do, you categorize people into certain buckets. For example, if they are high performers, exceptional performers, as you see on this slide, and low in the range, you might assign them, let's just say for the sake of argument, an 8% pay increase. If they're at the next stage of the range, that 20 to 40%, their increase might be 6%. The next stage, 4%. The next stage, 2%. And then the final stage, maybe 1%. Something like that. It probably exists. It's if you do a merit matrix at your organization. The problem you have, though, is what if you have two employees, and this always happens, two employees who are just basically almost the same pay, but they're just slightly off. Let's say they're $100 off annually from one another. Employee A, for example, versus employee B. The only between the two of them is maybe $100, or it could be $10 to $10 annually. And just because of that small difference in their pay, they are receiving significantly different percent increases in pay, right? So employee A gets a 4% increase here, while employee B gets only a 2% increase. How is that fair? Employee A is going to leapfrog employee B, creating an indefensible pay increase. We in the compensation world, to be honest, I think we all know this principle, but we just hope employee B doesn't come asking, hey, how is it that employee A got a larger increase than I did? This doesn't make sense. And then we're just hoping that those questions don't come up, because to be honest, those questions would be very difficult to answer. So the answer to this problem is what we call continuous linear funding. That's basically the idea of why do we have to stop at a 5x5 merit matrix? Why can't it be a 10x10? Why can't it be 100x100? Why can't it be 1,000,000 by 1,000,000? Why can't you have so many options that it's just simply, it's linear? The solution is linear. And we at HyperEquity have developed formulas to create linear funding for organizations that are interested in this, so that they don't have no more cliff effects, no more leapfrogging, that creating defensible pay increases, consistent pay increases through your merit process. You find that using continuous linear funding, we find, eliminates over time, maybe not all in 1 year, but eventually eliminates the need for off-cycle equity adjustments. Now imagine how that would be if you could get rid of off-cycle equity adjustments over time. In other words, no more managers coming to you saying, hey, I've got this person here who is underpaid relative to this person here. They perform the same, they're in the same job, they're both valued the same in my mind. I need to close that gap, and they're doing it off cycle. The reason that those requests will, in the hopes of it completely be eliminated, is that you're using your merit cycle to solve those problems and to solve them appropriately, such that we hope at least no more off-cycle increases. Imagine the money that could be saved at your organization if you struggle with this, and most organizations do. If you struggle with off-cycle pay increases throughout the year, not only are they time-consuming to manage, but they are also very costly. Well, there is a way to measure the health of your merit cycle, and to do so proactively before you even launch, so you have a good idea. Are you going to grow gaps that are only going to result in more and more off-cycle pay increases? Are you going to hold steady, or could you possibly strategically shrink gaps through your merit cycle? And what we have developed, and I'll give you the QR code here in a moment to download this on your end, is what we call the Merit Matrix Health Check tool. And all it does is what you see here on the slide. It is measuring the standard deviation of compa ratios over time. In this case, the over time piece being simply before your merit cycle, and then you could do it however you choose, but you could use the tool to measure how your merit cycle is going to impact those pay gaps. Are they going to shrink through your merit cycle, or are they going to grow? By loading in your recommended increases into the tool. So you have current pay, recommended increases, and the impact that those increases are going to have on the compa ratio, and whether or not the standard deviation, which is just a measurement of variation between the compa ratios, is it going to shrink those compa ratios, hold them steady, or are they going to grow? And if they're growing, that could be a good indication that perhaps your merit matrix could use some improvements. This tool will also measure whether or not you have any leapfrogging taking place as a result of the cliff effect that we just explained earlier. So I hope you find this tool helpful. The tool is here. Scan the QR code on your left. That is the QR code for the Merit Matrix Health Check tool. If you're interested in meeting with HyperEquity, to talk about how your merit matrix might improve, we'd be happy to do that. I want to give you another pro tip about how to use this Merit Matrix Health Check tool. If you so choose, you can adapt it. By the way, we've made it so that you can change formulas if you need to, that none of it's locked down. You can just download it and use it as a starting tool and build it into whatever makes sense to you. It does measure the standard deviation of compa ratios by performance rating, if that's what you choose to do. But you can use that tool to measure the changes in standard deviation over the course of the next year. So you don't have to use it just to measure merit matrix health. You could use it to also measure your hiring health. In other words, what are new salaries doing to your compa ratios? As recruiting is setting salaries, or whoever sets those salaries at your organization, are those new salaries growing the standard deviations, or are they shrinking? So you can use it as a health check for other processes in your organization. But we want to provide you here at HyperEquity, we want to provide you with the ability to measure your processes, measure the health of merit, your merit processes, your hiring processes, your off-cycle pay increase processes, even your promotion processes. And you can do so with that tool. Well, give me a call if you ever need any help with your merit cycle. That's it. Like I said, we wanted to keep these short and get to the point and give you something practical. Trina, is there anything out there that we need to discuss that might be coming in?
No, but I do want to just throw this across the bottom of the screen. Just remember to go to HyperEquity, hyperequity.com, and book a demo, because I think really getting in, knowing your team's expertise, you have consultants that are there to help, to walk through this process, to really explain it for that organization. And so also being able to get in and see the HyperEquity platform, just how easy it is to manage some of these complexities that you were talking through. So for everybody that's joined today, thank you. And this information will be out there for everybody to go back and rewatch. Please come back to both the LinkedIn pages for HyperEquity or visit our YouTube channel. And then also go ahead and book that demo. Just get on the phone and figure this out for your organization. Dallin and team are ready to rock. So thank you so much, Dallin. We'll wrap it up for today, and appreciate
Yeah.
everybody being here. Thank you.
Thanks, Trina.